Hello and welcome to the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I am Solomon Hoffemb and here are our top stories. Fresh Labour Party crisis as Peter Obi rejects Datti-abure peace deal ahead 2027. Gencos and discos rage as states begin tariff cuts causing Electricity Act fallout. Nigeria successful prosecutes over 730 terrorism-related cases. Federal government suspends doctors' allowances review to avert strike. Court refuses Yahaya Bello's travel request in alleged money laundering case. Nigeria's gross domestic product rebased to 205 trillion naira for 2019. On our international scene, the World Health Organization condemns Israeli attacks on facilities in Gaza. And in sports, Nigeria and South Africa clash in explosive WAFCON 2024 semi-final showdown. Those are our top stories. Details coming up shortly. We begin the world news with party politics, where the camp of Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Peter Obi, has distanced itself from Monday's reconciliation meeting between his former running mate Datti-abure and the Julius Abure-led leadership. The Labour Party has been engulfed in a leadership crisis which intensified in April after three members insisted they are the rightful leaders of the party. This came after the Supreme Court disqualified Julius Abure, who is recognized by the Independent National Electoral Commission as the party's national chairman. Lamidi Papa further complicated the issue, insisting that as the most senior member of the working committee, he was the rightful man to head the party following the Supreme Court's judgment. Meanwhile, there is the Nnamdi Usman-led faction of the party, which has the backing of the LP 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi and the Abia State Governor Alex Otti. While reacting to the meeting between Abure and Datti-abure, the national coordinator of the Obedient Movement Worldwide, Yunusa Tanko, said that the group remained firmly loyal to Governor Otti and the caretaker leadership headed by Senator Nnamdi Usman. When informed that some notable Obedient loyalists, including Ajia Nana Kazauri, attended the meeting, Tanko clarified that she did so merely as an observer. More states have announced plans to reduce electricity tariffs in their jurisdictions after the Enugu Electricity Regulatory Commission issued a new tariff order to Main Power Electricity Distribution Limited, revising the electricity cost for Band A customers from 209 naira per kilowatt hour to 106 naira per kilowatt hour effective August 1, 2025. This was, however, vehemently opposed by power generation and distribution companies, who claimed that the move may cripple the sector, as the Gencos declared that the industry is indebted to power producers to the tune of over 5 trillion naira. As the Gencos and Discos attacked Enugu State over its move on Monday, the state insisted on its decision, stressing that it followed all required processes to arrive at the new 160 naira kilowatt per hour power tariff for Band A customers and consumers. The power firms kicked against the Enugu Electricity Regulatory Commission's planned cut of Band A electricity tariffs, warning that the decision relies on questionable subsidy assumptions and poses serious risks to the country's fragile power sector. In a statement, the Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Power Generation Companies, Joy Ogaji, the Genco, stated that the tariff revision sets a precedent for all other states and fails to reflect the true cost of electricity generation. However, still on Monday, more states with independent electricity regulatory powers indicated their interest in slashing tariffs like their Enugu counterparts. Nigeria has reiterated its dedication to combating terrorism financing and illicit financial flows that pose a threat to national and regional security. The National Coordinator, National Counterterrorism Center (NCTC), Major General Amadu Laka, at the on-site meeting of the Financial Act Task Force (FATF), a strategic simulation exercise in Abuja. Laka noted that Nigeria had recorded significant progress under the FATF International Cooperation Review Group (ICRG) action plan, particularly in areas of technical compliance, operational effectiveness, and interagency collaboration. He revealed that coordinated national effort had led to the successful prosecution of over 730 terrorism-related cases, with more than 90 directly supported by the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit (NFIU). He praised the collaboration between the NFIU and other agencies, stating that their synergy has significantly curtailed the flow of illicit funds to terrorist network. Laka further commended the work of the Joint Standard Investigation Committee on Terrorism Financing, whose contributions have been pivotal in Nigeria's enhanced capacity to investigate and prosecute complex financial crimes. He emphasized that the exercise provided a vital opportunity to evaluate the nation's readiness and strengthen interagency coordination against money laundering and terrorist financing. According to him, this mock exercise is not just a routine formality, it is a crucial and critical simulation to test the robustness of our institutional response and harmonize strategies before the FATF assessment. The federal government has suspended the recent circular issued by the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission reviewing the allowances of medical and dental officers in the federal public service. The controversial circular dated June 27, 2025 drew widespread criticism from medical associations including the Nigerian Medical Association, the Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria, and the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, among others. The NMA had on July 3 issued a 21-day ultimatum to the federal government to withdraw the circular and meet its other demands to avert industrial action in the health sector. The president of the NMA, Professor Audu Bala, said the circular contains provisions that not mutually agreed upon, and which undermines the remuneration and welfare of medical professionals. The MNA warned it would ground medical services nationwide if the government fails to meet its demands at the expiration of the ultimatum by July 23. The president of NERD, Dr. Tokwe Oshundare, have now come out to say the circular has been abolished for further deliberations. Earlier, the federal government held further high-level meetings with representatives of the NMA in a bid to forestall industrial action. Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court Abuja has turned down a request by the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, seeking the release of his international passport, saying the medical report attached to the application was not signed by its maker. Delivering the judgment, Justice Nwite, however, held that contrary to the submission of the prosecution team, the application was not an abuse of the court process. The defendant had applied for the release of his travel documents to enable him to travel to the United Kingdom for medical attention. The judge said counsel to the defendant argued that the applicant was a known hypertensive patient for about 15 years. The lawyer Joseph Dauda was also said to have presented exhibits A and B, which constituted an expert report on the health status of the applicant, saying that sufficient materials had been placed before the court to exercise its discretion in favor of the applicant. The judge also recalled that the prosecution team argued that the application was an abuse of the court process. While arguing and urging the court to dismiss the application, counsel to the prosecution noted that the relief sought were similar and that the motion was technically incompetent as the sureties of the defendant was not informed. The case was adjourned to October 7 and 10 and November 10 and 11, 2025 for continuation of trial. Nigeria's gross domestic product (GDP) as of 2019 has been rebased to 205 trillion naira. This is according to the Statistician General of the Federation, Adeyemi Adeniro. The figure, according to him, showed an increase of 41.7% compared to the figures obtained during the 2014 GDP rebasing exercise. Adeniro said top 5 performing sectors include crop production, trade, real estate, telecommunications, and oil and gas. The recent rebasing covered the periods between 2019 to 2023, using 2019 as the new base year. Meanwhile, the GDP at current price stood at 372.8 trillion naira in 2024 after the base year for calculating the figure was shifted to 2019. In normal terms, Nigeria's economy was estimated at 205.09 trillion naira, representing a 41.1% increase from the previous base year value. This compares to a 59.5% increase following the previous rebasing exercise in 2014. With that, total output stood at 213.636 trillion naira in 2020, 243.302 trillion naira in 2021, 274.233 trillion naira in 2022, 314.023 trillion naira in 2023, and 372.822 trillion naira in 2024. Ranking the top 5 economic activities using the 2019 base year, crop production came up with 17.58%, trade 17.42%, real estate 10.78%, telecommunications 6.78%, and crude petroleum and natural gas 5.85%. It is now time for us to join in Kami and John from our Abuja studio for more news.
Thanks for staying tuned. These are the latest developments from the nation's capital. I am Kami and John. The Inspector General of Police, Datti-abure, is currently meeting with protesting retired police officers at the Peacekeeping Hall of the Force Headquarters in Abuja. The meeting follows Monday's protest by the retirees at the National Assembly, where they demanded to be removed from the Contributory Pension Scheme (CPS). Many of the elderly demonstrators stood in the rain holding placards and chanting anti-government songs. Some also marched to the Force Headquarters to press home their demands. Addressing the protesters, IGP Egbe assured them that the welfare of retired police officers is being addressed. He, however, noted that the exiting the CPS is not something that can be done immediately. He urged the protest leaders to avoid spreading misinformation, stressing that the force would not abandon its own. The Federal Capital Territory Administration (FCTA) has concluded a 4-day capacity building workshop for health leaders and managers, resulting in the development of the 2026 Annual Operation Plan (AOP), fully aligned with the FCT health budget. The workshop, held under the Nigerian Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative and the Sector-Wide Approach (SWAP) program, received technical support from the Federal Ministry of Health. Speaking at the opening session, Dr. Datti-abure Fasawe, Mandate Secretary of the FCT Health Services and Environmental Secretariat, charged participants to produce a data-driven budget-linked AOP. She said aligning the plan with government priorities would enable the FCT to access funding through disbursement-linked indicators (DLIS) and attract strong support from development partners. Over 70 senior health officials from across the FCT and partner organizations participated in the training aimed at strengthening the health system and enhancing service delivery. President of the Abuja Original Inhabitants and Youth Empowerment Organization, Isaac David, has called for inclusive planning and respect for the rights of indigenous communities in the Federal Capital Territory. Speaking during an interactive session with journalists in Abuja, David stressed the need for original inhabitants to take an active role in designing development plans for their communities. He further emphasized that the government and property developers must recognize that the original inhabitants of the FCT still hold customary rights over the 8,000 square kilometers of land that make up the territory. David added that the indigenous people are simply demanding justice, equal rights, and freedom from discrimination. Meanwhile, two natives of the Federal Capital Territory FCT, Sunday Danjuma and Jacob Audu, have reportedly been shot by policemen deployed to quell a protest over the demolition of houses in Kasana community under the Abuja Municipal Area Council (AMAC). Chairman of the Kasana community, Zakari Baba, who confirmed the incident, said the unrest began around 10 a.m. when police officers stationed at the community's main gate barred natives from accessing the area to retrieve their belongings. He said the police opened fire after some of the affected residents tried to force their way into the community. The Federal Capital Territory Commissioner at the Public Complaints Commission, Musa Diko, also confirmed the incident in a telephone interview. He said two natives sustained bullet wounds when the police attempted to disperse the protesting residents. According to him, he has since visited the community to de-escalate tensions and has summoned the developer behind the demolition to appear before the commission to explain who authorized the action. And those are the developments in the nation's capital. I am Nkamian John.
From our Abuja studio, Nkamian John, move over to news analysis, where I have Chukuma, Okuro, a broadcaster and current affairs analyst. Mr. Okuro, thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
Let's move to the first topic for discussion, obviously, which is party politics, and where the camp of the Labour Party presidential candidate of the 2023 election, Peter Obi, has distanced itself from Monday's reconciliation meeting between his former running mate, Datti-abure Ahmed, and the Julius Abure-led faction. I think Peter Obi is in the bind here. I don't know if you agree with me, where when he first joined the ADC coalition, obedience movements were quite happy that okay, he's left the Labour Party that's been engulfed in crisis, so a coalition, which means and with the big names on the coalition, he has a big chance of succeeding. And then, but you know, the coalition has been tagged an Atiku coalition, which is now thrown a wrench into the whole arrangement. And on the Labour Party acts, you know, the crises have not stopped, you know, and Datti-abure is trying a reconciliation, but it doesn't look like that will work. And so, what do you think is going on with him? What do you think is in his mind?
In whose mind? Peter Obi or Datti?
Peter Obi.
Okay, now first of all, a few points of clarification. When you read out the news, I think the headline was "Fresh Crisis."
Yes.
You know, so I don't know how fresh the crisis is. It's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
It's a fresh crisis. You are not the only one. Some newspaper headlines, national dailies also said fresh crisis. And I said, what kind of crisis is this? Is it fresh? It's an ongoing crisis. Then away from that,
I think the crisis is more with Peter Obi than the LP and the
they say
coalition.
fresh crisis in LP.
Yeah.
You know, it's an ongoing thing. It's not fresh. Maybe there's another angle to it, which is the fact that the running mate, Obis running mate, Datti-abure Ahmed, you know, has weighed in into the crisis. Now, you think, if you ask me, the second thing you said that Obi happens to be, does it look like Peter Obi is in a bind? Yes, I agree with you on that. I agree with you clearly on that. And on radio, on TV this morning, I was of the opinion, which I'm going to amplify now, that Peter Obi seems to be in a bind. But before I get into that, let me also make another point of clarification. When you said that when Peter Obi joined the ADC coalition, I would like to say more like he didn't join the coalition. He said that he's holding discussions with the coalition. He has not formally left the Labour Party, and he's been very clear on that.
That wasn't what it looks like. I mean, the they were all on the stage with the other big wigs of the party. It's not like we got an information on the sidelines. Okay. He's been with them, pictures taken.
He's been holding discussions with them. He has not denied that. And he's been very clear on his position. Says, look, I remain a member of the Labour Party, but I'm holding discussions with the coalition to see how we can come together. To do what? To remove the APC, from office. Take back this country. End all of this rascality. That has been his consistent message to the Nigerian people. We have to end all of this rascality going on in this country. So I'm holding discussions with members of the coalition. Now, to the main point of the question that you asked, is he in a bind? Yes, Obis seems to be in a bind. Now, like you said, the ADC has more like been nomenclatured Atiku's ADC. And Kachuku Dumebi says, look, that the ADC coalition is being put together to prop up or to foster Atiku's political ambition.
To push him forward.
There's nothing wrong in that if that is what Atiku wants. But he should also understand that Atiku is not alone. Amechi has declared his interest. Amechi has formally resigned from the APC. He's now with the coalition. Atiku has formally resigned with the PDP. He's yet to join in terms of membership. The pioneer national chairman of the APC, John Oyegun, has formally left the APC and joined the ADC. So a coalition is in the cooking, is in the making. That is exactly what they're doing. Now, let me talk about how Obi is in a bind. Obi seems to be in a bind because what happens if he leaves Labour Party, joins ADC, and he doesn't get the presidential? PDP is asking him to come back. Is he going back to the PDP where you have Enyesom Wike still
dominating the party?
In the party, still in control, largely in control of that party, despite the fact that they said we have set up a committee to expel Enyesom Wike. And a lot of people just see that as soundbite, that it will never happen.
Definitely.
Why? Because Wike seems to be in control of the National Working Committee. He seems to be in control. In fact, he is in actual control of the NEC, the National Executive Committee. He seems to be having problems with the BOT, which, by the way, is just an advisory board. I mean, they don't have executive powers. They don't have decision-making powers within the PDP. So
the National Working Committee are the main power brokers here.
In fact, the decision-making body of the party is the National Executive Committee. Now, is Peter Obi going back to that PDP where Nyesom Wike is still in control? And he remains in the Labour Party that is having problems. Recall that after the 2023 elections, the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, said that before 2027, that there will not be any Labour Party. Is it in the process?
It looks like.
That's what it looks like. Because the Supreme Court gave a judgment and said, look, Abure, your tenure has ended. You are no longer the national chairman of the party. Now, the same Supreme Court, in another breath, said the lower courts, the High Court and the Appeal Court, shouldn't in the first place even have entertained that matter because that is the internal affair of the political party. So let the party go back and resolve their crisis. Now, in resolving their crisis, Lamidi Apapa says, as the most senior member of the National Working Committee, I take charge. Now, Alex Otti, who happens to be more like the national leader, being the fact that he is the only
governor,
the highest elected officer of the party, being the governor of Abia State, and the presidential candidate, which is Peter Obi, came together, put up a committee to review events and probably conduct a fresh convention to elect national chairmen, the national officers of the party. And Apapa says, no, you don't do that. You don't have the authority to do that. Now we have a Datti-abure, going to make peace moves with who? With Abure.
The Abure faction.
So if Obi says, go ahead with that, Obi will inadvertently be recognizing and giving credence to Abure as the national chairman of the party.
When there is a Nenandi faction,
and there which was appointed by Peter Obi and Alex Otti. So you see why I say that I agree with you when you say, and with a lot of people who say that Peter Obi might actually be in a bind. And I asked the guest on my show this morning, the morning show on VSOP television, what happens if Peter Obi doesn't get a ticket in the LP? in the PDP and in the ADC. He says, oh, there are other political parties where he could go to. That what matters most is that Obi has the obedient movement, which is very massive, behind him.
But that wouldn't be enough. You need party structure, and
that's what he's saying. Dumping
the
obedient movement, dumping the obedient movement in another party. And mind you, Datti-Abure says they have evidence that Labour Party in 2023 scored more than 10 million votes. So in actuality, they won the elections. But how the votes got reduced to 6 million votes is what they cannot explain. So they are very confident that with a massive following, that will be going to any party and having a repeat of the momentum of 2023 will simply win the election. How easy was that going to be? There's also the talk of Obi and Atiku, one deputizing for the other, but it's still very blurred. Who is going to do that? Obi has made it clear, I'm not going to deputize anybody. I'm on the ticket 2027. And Atiku is hell-bent on clinching the ticket of the ADC. And Kachuku Dumebi is saying, look, in all of this, the ADC is not for sale. Because that Atiku and co are trying to hijack the ADC. And mind you, Nasir El-Rufai has not formally...
He called it unconstitutional takeover of the party.
Unconstitutional takeover, hijack. And mind you, Nasir El-Rufai has not formally joined the ADC in terms of membership.
Now, so I'm trying to understand the formally joined, because these people came out.
Okay.
They were involved in the, will I say, official inauguration of the coalition.
Okay.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So if they officially inaugurated the coalition, what steps is needed to now be officially member of the coalition? Now,
I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
Now, someone have come here to correct me that there's the ADC party and there's the ADC coalition. I'm still trying to understand the difference, and is it possible? And he said it's possible for you to be a member of the coalition of the ADC without being a member of the party.
Yes, it's possible, but I wouldn't want to say.
But what is the steps?
Okay.
To be a member of the coalition.
I'll come to that. I would rather say that you can be a member of the coalition without being a member of the ADC. Just like a lot of people are members of the obedient movement, but not members of the Labour Party.
Yes.
Now, but I will say that there is nothing like the ADC party and the ADC coalition. There is just the ADC and there is a coalition.
In the ADC?
There is a coalition.
Okay. Outside of the ADC, or a coalition in the ADC?
There's a coalition which is the coming together of like minds to say, look, we are coming together.
But they are coming together under the platform of ADC.
That is their idea. That they have adopted the ADC as the coalition party.
Okay.
But while doing that, I'm sure you saw where John Oyegun formally resigned from the APC and now went to his ward in Benin City and formally registered and collected membership card of the ADC. You can now say that John Oyegun is a member of the ADC and is part of the coalition.
Okay.
But you cannot say that Peter Obi is a member, is part of the ADC.
Yeah, but we can say he's a member of the coalition.
Because he's holding talks with people.
Okay.
With the coalition, members of the coalition who have said, we have formally adopted the ADC, but until such a time that they all take membership of the ADC, that is when you can say that they are now, all of them are in the ADC. I think that should be the difference.
Okay. Now, on the other hand, Peter Obi's running mate, Datti-abure, going to the Abure-led Labour Party and trying to do a reconciliation. Does that mean he's endorsing the Abure faction of the party? With that, it's some might say that may cause a clash between him and Peter Obi.
Okay.
Considering they were both,
they ran on a joint ticket.
Exactly.
They ran on a joint ticket. Now, when Datti was asked if his attending that meeting was a tacit recognition of Abure as a member of the National Party, he said no, that wasn't. That he's looking for a way out of the quagmire. He's looking for a way to do something that will bring back all members of the Labour Party into one fold. And when Yunus Atanku was asked if Obi got Datti got clearance from Peter Obi before attending the meeting, the reconciliation meeting, he said that they are not aware, that they just got to hear that there was some form of reconciliatory meeting, and that, well, maybe Datti...
Does he really even need clearance from Peter Obi to attend any meeting?
No, he doesn't need a clearance from Peter Obi to attend that meeting. But he needs clearance from Peter Obi to say, you have my backing on this reconciliation process.
Okay.
I think there are two different things. He doesn't need to tell Peter Obi, I want to attend this meeting. But Peter Obi needs to tell him, if you are attending that meeting, I have your backing. And he didn't have that backing of Peter Obi. Because Peter Obi giving him that backing clearly means that Peter Obi is in recognition of Abure as the authentic national chairman of the party, which he doesn't want to, which he doesn't believe in. And Yunus Atanku said that much. So that is the difference. But it doesn't look like there is a crack between Peter Obi and Dattiabure.
But with this bind, personally, what do you think Peter Obi should do? Because some obedience movement and some people have called to say, at this point, we don't care whether Peter Obi, I mean, there are like two factions now.
Okay.
One faction that are saying it has to be Peter Obi as presidential candidate or nothing.
For
ADC.
Okay.
You know? And then you have the other faction that they're saying at this point in time, we don't even care if he's the president or vice president. We just need someone to take the APC and Tinubu out of government.
Okay.
And the optimistic part of it is that the obedience movement plus the votes that Atiku holds in the north will be quite explosive, and it will be interesting to see what the outcome will be.
Okay.
You know, and then on the other hand, we all know that with the way things are, Peter Obi will most likely leave Labour Party. Do you think it will be good for him to go to the PDP, considering the party? I mean, PDP may be in crisis right now, but you can't refute the fact that despite the crisis, they still have party structures, they still have some governors, you know, that under the PDP hands. Would you advise he goes to PDP?
I will not advise.
I mean, also looking at the wicked, condition of
that
it.
Issue earlier. I raised it earlier.
So
Peter will be going back to the PDP.
So what do you, which do you think is more realistic?
I think what Peter Obi is doing is what we call wait and watch.
Okay.
He's waiting. He's biding his time. He's going through a lot of soul searching.
But time is of the essence.
No, time is of the essence. The structure is already there. The obedient movement is there, which is a solid structure. If it's the PDP for him, if PDP is the problem with the PDP is, assuming they're able to do some kind of kangaroo arrangement and expel Wike, what happens to the Wike boys within the PDP? They might just use that and create a semblance of, oh, well, there's peace in the PDP. Wike has left. Meanwhile, his men are still there.
Okay.
You know? So now let me tell you why what is happening is normal. I pretty much was in the know of what happened during the formation of the APC. Because at that time, John Momo was the national chairman of the CPC. And we had Senator Shaibu Lawal, who was the interim national chairman of the ACN at that point. And I spoke to both of them several times at different occasions. John Momo told me, at a point, it was like there was this back and forth. You know, CPC is not going to be part of the coalition, of the merger. And I'll go to Shaibu Lawal. Shaibu Lawal said, well, the talks have collapsed. ACN is not going to be part of it and all of that. And you know the problems they were having at that time was between Buhari and Tinubu. Who is going to run? Who will be the party's flag bearer? So they kept tweaking it, you know, until such a time they came to a conclusion that, look, it would be right for a Tinubu to sit back, you know, take the position of a national leader, support the ambition of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because as at that time, it was the turn of the North to produce the president in 2015. So they had to acquiesce, Tinubu had to acquiesce, to the fact that, look, let Buhari go first. So what is happening to Peter Obi now is more like a repeat of what happened. He's in Labour Party. No, he has left. No, he's in ADC. No, he's going back to PDP. They are still tweaking the process. And I like the position that Peter Obi has adopted. Peter Obi keeps saying, look, I remain part of the Labour Party, but I'm holding talks with people in the coalition and who have said, look, we are going to, or we have adopted the ADC as the party. In politics, they say 24 hours is a long time for things to happen. And we are still in July 2025. We still have whole of 2026. We still have 1 year. By this time next year, it will be July 2026. And primaries will start holding sometime September, October, and all of that.
In other words, less than 2 years.
Less than 2 years, In fact, should we be talking about 2027? Because governance has clearly taken a backseat. Look at what's going on in the polity, economic decline, insecurity. Aside from after rebasing the economy, so where are we? We are still number 4 in Africa. So what happened? So there's a lot. The government has its work cut out for itself.
A lot of political chess game going on.
I mean, which is quite unnecessary at this moment.
Now, away from politics now, more states have announced plans to reduce electricity tariffs in their jurisdiction after the Enugu Electricity Regulatory Commission issued a new tariff order to Main Power Electricity Distribution Limited, revising the electricity cost for Band A customers from 209 naira per kilowatt to 160 naira per kilowatt, effective August 1, 2025. Obviously, Enugu announced this and then lots of other regulatory agencies, Gencos, Discos, are all coming out to kick against it. What do you think about it?
No. What I think is that what Peter Mba has done is to tell you that, look, that governance is not rocket science. And he has also made a revelation, which is quite telling, that the Federal Ministry of Power and the federal government and the Gencos and the Discos have been deceiving and lying to Nigerians for several years. What Peter Mba with his EERC has done is to tell us that, look, we have been living a lie. That there is nothing like subsidy. That the said subsidy has been going into pockets of private people, individuals. More like what happened in the oil industry, where we were paying trillions of naira in form of fuel subsidy that was going into private pockets. Now, they have recalculated what they think should be, a competitive pricing of electricity for Band A. And they reduced it from 205 naira per kilowatt to what? 160 naira. Saying that, look, the subsidy, the presumed subsidy, it's non-existent.
Yeah.
And so where is it coming from? And more like there's a bandwagon effect. Other state when Peter Mba inaugurated the EERC, I knew he was up to something. And this is what we see today. And Manpower is a subsidiary of EEDC, which is now in control of Enugu, the Enugu sector.
Yes.
So like you rightly said, other states are keen into it. So the lie has crumbled. In climate environment, in Senate environment, Nigerians will ask the Ministry of Power, the NERC, and all the regulatory agencies around the power sector to come and explain to Nigerians how they got about the 5 trillion naira debt owed to Gencos and Discos. But unfortunately, we live in a country where by tomorrow, if Dangote reduces the price of fuel by 50 kobo, it will overtake this news and it will die, a natural death. And by next tomorrow, 100 people are killed in Plateau State. Oh, everybody will have Plateau State.
There's always something happening. Always something.
There's always something. So we don't keep track of even matters things that even concern us as a people. Solomon, look at 205 to 160. That is 45 naira per kilowatt. Do you know how many thousands that Nigerians have been shafted off in Enugu alone? And Gencos and Discos are saying, look, we even need more money to run this business. So where is the 5 trillion naira debt coming from? What happened to it and all of that? Nigerians don't ask questions.
I mean, I stay in an area of Band A, and I know how much I spend every month for power. And you'll be wondering, what do I have in the house? You know, and then where is all this money going to? And then you begin to see some of the deficits, and you wonder, where is the deficits coming from? Because I mean, it's a prepaid meter, so it's not like it's estimated bill where you can bribe, you know, the NEPA officials instead of 200k. Let me just pay 150 or 5.
It's not even a matter of bribing them. They stay in their offices and write out figures. You see, you come to an area, you see a 3-bedroom apartment that is on estimated billing, and they charge the person probably 75,000 naira. And you go to another 1-room apartment, they still charge the person 75,000 naira. So what is the difference? Probably the other person has electric stove, has a washing machine, has a deep freezers and all of that. Can you have all of those things in a 1-room apartment? The answer is like possibly no. So how come you produce almost the same amount of? In fact, they come to one neighborhood and they give figures almost the same across board. How do you explain that?
And finally, because of time, the federal government has suspended the recent circular issued by the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission reviewing the allowances of medical and dental officers in the Federal Capital Territory. Now, I don't want to go into it's unfortunate that there has to be a threat from NARD and other medical NMA for federal government to now finally decide to let's have a sit and talk. I mean, in a country where the news before that to see a court refuses Yahaya Bello's travel request, wants to go to the US for medical, attention. And when you check what it's just this is something that can be treated in Nigeria, even in medical facility that's not very advanced, and yet it has to go. And then when you see our elites traveling outside of the country for medical attention, of course, yesterday we even heard the news of how much billion dollars Nigerians have given out to medical tourism. And then you begin to wonder that the doctors here have to go through all this.
Now Solomon, first off, we have a government that is clearly reactive, not proactive. Yeah. This is not the first time. And what easily comes to my mind is the Minister of Labour, what is his primary responsibility? What is the core mandate of that ministry? And the last time I checked, I think they said they were looking for so amount of money to do what? To create employment. Is that their business? To create employment. Manage the people that have been employed. That is your core responsibility. Why will you be in office and you allow doctors to go on strike in this country? And it's only when they make a threat that you now say, oh, please, don't worry, come, let's see. And by the way, they gave ultimatum 21 days. And you allow the 21 days to elapse before you now call, oh, okay, you thought that the threat was empty or what, that they were not going to embark on a strike or what? Now they have done, and you are doing damage control. And talk about Yahaya Bello. I think, short of being personal, I think the EFCC should. How can I'm looking for a superlative, to qualify what Yahaya Bello should go to. But before I get to Yahaya Bello, recall that we had a president, who died sometime, I think about 10 days ago in the UK. And we have his spokesperson, Femi Adesina, said if he had relied, on medical facilities in Nigeria, he would have died long ago. And we have a former head of state, military head of state, Abdulsalami Abubakar, who gleefully told Nigerians, oh, I was admitted in the same hospital in the UK with Muhammad Buhari, and he expects us to clap hands for him. High profile, VIP, very important persons, who are admitted in highbrow hospitals in the UK. We have Aso Rock Clinic, budgeted how much for? Year in, year out. Now, Yahaya Bello is undergoing 82 billion naira investigation. He's more like a fugitive running away from law, from justice. And now, he didn't build any state class, country level hospital in Kogi State. He didn't build
while he was governor.
Yet he wants to go abroad and treat himself. Well, I'm happy that the judge refused that application. He shouldn't go. Let him treat himself here in Nigeria and see what the average person in Kogi State is passing through.
I mean,
before he became governor, how many times did he attend treatment abroad?
He's hypertensive. It's not like he has cancer, God forbid, you know, but which is not exactly a rocket science.
He just wants to run away. That's it. He just wants to run away.
It's always a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Okuro. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, Solomon. I appreciate you.
That was Chukuma Okuro, broadcaster and current affairs analyst. And to quickly look at what's going on our international news, the World Health Organization (WHO) says Israel's ground offensive in central Gaza has compromised its efforts to continue working after its facilities came under attack. The UN agency accused Israeli forces of attacking a building housing its staff and their families in the city of Deir al-Balah, and mistreating those sheltering there. Its main warehouse was also attacked and destroyed. The first major ground operation in Deir al-Balah since the start of the war with the Hamas 21 months ago has placed tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians amid warnings of a severe hunger crisis across the country. The UN has said it was receiving reports of malnourished people arriving at clinics and hospitals in extremely poor health, while the Hamas-run health ministry said 19 people have died from malnutrition since Saturday. On Sunday, the Israeli military ordered the immediate evacuation of 6 city blocks in southern Deir al-Balah, warning that it will be operating with great force to destroy the enemy's capabilities and terrorist infrastructure. The estimated 50,000 and 80,000 people living in the affected areas were instructed to head south towards the Al-Mawasi area in the south of the territory. At least 27 people, mostly children, were killed after a Bangladeshi fighter jet crashed into a school in the capital Dhaka, a government official said Tuesday, updating an earlier toll of at least 20 dead. Most of the victims were school children who had just been let out of class when the Chinese-made F-7 BGI aircraft slammed into the Milestone School and College on Monday. The crash, which is the country's deadliest aviation accident in decades, also left more than 170 people injured. The Bangladesh military on Monday said the pilot, Flight Lieutenant Tawqir Islam, was in a routine training mission when the jet reportedly encountered a mechanical failure. The exact cause remains under investigation. And finally, on our sports news, when Nigeria and South Africa meet in football in any level, it is more than a game. With a rich history and fierce rivalry between the two countries, the Super Falcons semi-final match against the Banyana at the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations WAFCON on Tuesday is more than a fixture. It is a showdown between two African powerhouses, an encounter that fans have been waiting for since the start of the tournament. The Super Falcons are current record 9-time WAFCON champions, having missed out on the title only 3 times. South Africa, the defending champions, clinched their first crown in Morocco in 2022, and they will be aiming to reach their 3rd consecutive final in the tournament. En route to this stage, the Super Falcons trashed Zambia's Copper Queens 5-0, while South Africa edged Senegal 4-1 on penalty after 120 minutes of grueling football. While South Africa want to prove that their win 3 years ago was not a fluke, Nigeria are eager to reassert their dominance in the African stage. Both sides are no strangers to each other, although earlier scorelines heavily favors Nigeria. South Africa have steadily closed the gap. The Banyana and the 9-time WAFCON title holders have faced off 10 times in the tournament, with Nigeria holding the edge with 8 wins. South Africa have managed 2 victories, the first in the 2018 group stage and the most recent during the last edition of the Women's Football Showcase. The game is today at 5 p.m. Nigerian time. And that's the news, but before we go, here again are our top stories. Fresh oil crisis as Peter Obi rejects Datti-abure peace deal ahead 2027. Jankos and discos rage as states begin tariff cuts causing Electricity Act fallout. Nigeria successfully prosecutes over 730 terrorism-related cases. Federal government suspends doctors' allowances review to avert strike. Court refuses Yahya Bello's travel request in alleged money laundering case. Nigeria's gross domestic product rebased to 205 trillion naira for 2019. On international scene, World Health Organization condemns Israeli attacks on facilities in Gaza. And in sports, Nigeria and South Africa clash in explosive WAFCON 2014 semi-final showdown today by 5 p.m. And that's the world news at 12. I am Solomon of Do follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at VOP903FM. Good afternoon and thank you for listening.